I'm 82 years old, and if I could turn back time, I would not have retired when I did. That decision, which I once thought was going to bring me peace and joy, turned into one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I'm not saying retirement is bad for everyone, but I am saying that if you are nearing it or already in it, you better think hard and deep. I want to share my story with you so that maybe, just maybe, you won't make the same mistakes I did. When I was in my 60s, I believed the golden years would be just that. Golden, peaceful mornings, long cups of coffee, travel, hobbies, grandkids. I imagined freedom, rest, and reward for all the hard work I had put in over the decades. I thought finally I'll be free, but I was wrong. The problem wasn't retirement itself, it was how I approached it. And I want to talk to you about 6 mistakes that I made, mistakes that quietly crept into my life until one day I looked in the mirror and realized I was no longer the man I used to be. Not physically, not emotionally, not mentally. The first mistake I made was thinking retirement meant stopping, completely. I used to wake up with a purpose every day. I had meetings, goals, people depended on me. Then one day, just like that, all of it stopped. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. You don't realize how much your work gives your life structure until it's gone. Suddenly, my days stretched endlessly. Sure, it was relaxing at first, like a vacation, but vacations are short for a reason. When they stretch on too long, you lose your sense of direction. I felt lost, aimless. I missed being needed. I missed being part of something bigger than myself. I should have slowed down instead of stopping cold, found part-time work, volunteered, started something small. But I didn't. And time, once your ally, becomes your enemy when you have too much of it and too little meaning. The second mistake was underestimating the emotional toll. I thought my identity was just my name, my family, but a big part of who I was came from what I did. I was a provider, a leader, a mentor. When I retired, I didn't just stop working. I lost a big chunk of my identity, and no one warns you about that. Everyone claps when you retire. They throw parties, hand you a watch, smile, but no one tells you what it feels like when the phone stops ringing, when the invitations fade, when you're no longer in the loop. I started to feel invisible. I was surrounded by silence, and not the peaceful kind, the lonely kind. It eats at you if you let it. The third mistake I made was thinking my health would take care of itself. I figured I had more time now. I'd exercise, eat better, maybe lose some weight. But when I stopped having a routine, everything fell apart. I started sleeping late, eating at odd times, watching too much television. I moved less. And you know what happens when you stop moving? You stop living. I should have made a plan. I should have joined a walking group, signed up for classes, got myself a dog, anything that would have forced me to move. Instead, I let my body slow down, and now I feel it in every bone, every joint. Health is a candle. It dims slowly and then suddenly it's dark. Don't wait for the dark. The fourth mistake was thinking my money would last. I had saved. I thought I had enough. But you never know how long you'll live or how expensive life becomes when you age. Medications, home repairs, family emergencies, inflation. I didn't spend wildly. I wasn't foolish. But even with careful planning, there were things I never expected. And when you're not earning, every dollar feels heavier. Every expense stings more. I wish I had kept a small income stream. I wish I had been more honest with myself about how long retirement might last. Retirement isn't a finish line. It's another chapter, a long one, and it needs fuel. The fifth mistake was assuming relationships would stay the same. I thought I'd see my friends more, my kids, my grandkids, but everyone has their own life. Friends move away, some pass away, children are busy, grandchildren grow, and suddenly the house is quiet, too quiet. I didn't work hard enough to build new friendships. I didn't join groups. I didn't keep reaching out. I let myself retreat, and I paid the price. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a disease. It eats away at your spirit. If I could go back, I would build a community. I would find people who shared my interests. I would show up even when I didn't feel like it, because we all need people, no matter how old we are. And the sixth mistake I made was thinking it was too late to change. For years, I sat in my regrets, told myself this was just how it was. But that's not true. You're never too old to start again. You're never too old to find purpose. Maybe you won't go back to work full-time. Maybe you won't climb a mountain. But you can teach, you can write, you can mentor, you can learn, you can grow, and you must. Because when you stop growing, you start fading. I wish I hadn't waited so long to realize that. So if you're thinking about retirement or already there, I beg you, don't make the mistakes I made. Don't stop completely. Ease into it. Keep a purpose. Stay engaged. Take care of your health like your life depends on it. Because it does. Plan your finances like you'll live to 100. Because you might. Nurture your relationships. Build new ones. And never ever believe it's too late. Because it never is. I'm 82. I regret retiring the way I did. But I share this not to complain. I share it because I wish someone had told me. Maybe if they had, I would have done things differently. Maybe if they had, I wouldn't have spent so many years drifting in a fog. You have a chance to make different choices, to live with intention, to retire with purpose. Don't just stop, shift, adapt, live. Because the truth is, retirement doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning, but only if you make it so. And that's my hope for you, that you live with no regrets, that you keep moving, keep connecting, keep becoming, even now, especially now. Now let's clear some common questions. If you could go back, what would you do differently in the first year of retirement to avoid regret? If I could go back and do it all over again, I'd live that first year of retirement entirely differently. That year, the one I spent easing into what I thought would be the beginning of the best chapter of my life, turned out to be one of the most disorienting and quietly painful periods I've ever known. I didn't realize how delicate that time was. I thought retirement was a break, a reward, a finish line. But what I didn't see was that it was actually a turning point. And like all turning points, it demanded care, intention, and courage. If I could rewind time, I'd treat that first year not as an ending, but as a transition, a bridge, not a door closing. The first thing I would do differently is simple, but powerful. I would wake up with purpose every single day. Not a grand one, not some big mission, just a reason to get up, something to look forward to. The biggest mistake I made was believing I had earned the right to do nothing, that doing nothing would somehow feel good. For the first few weeks, it did. I slept in, watched television in the middle of the day, took long lunches, but then days started blending together. I'd wake up and not know what day it was, not because I was relaxed, but because I was adrift. That kind of freedom, the kind with no anchor, is dangerous. I should have planned mornings with intention. Walks, reading, journaling, a small task list, something that gave my day shape. I would have made a habit of beginning each day by asking myself, what will give me meaning today? If I could go back, I would also have talked less and listened more, especially to myself. You see, when you retire, people celebrate you, pat you on the back, and send you off with a smile. But no one prepares you for the silence that follows. I filled that silence with distractions, noise, chatter. But what I should have done was sit with it. Ask myself real questions. Who am I now that I'm not my job? What part of myself have I ignored all these years? What do I still want to learn or build or give? I would have taken time in that first year to listen to my spirit, to write down dreams I buried under decades of routine, to reconnect with the parts of me I left behind when I got busy being an adult. Another thing I would have done differently is stayed connected to people. And I don't mean casual phone calls or family dinners once a month. I mean real connection. I should have joined a group, started something new, volunteered regularly. I let myself become isolated without even realizing it. I thought staying home meant I was relaxing, but I was shrinking. Little by little, I should have surrounded myself with people who were also navigating this stage of life. People I could laugh with, share with, people who would challenge me, inspire me, remind me I still had something to offer. Because no matter how old you get, you still need to belong. You still need to matter. If I had the chance again, I would have moved my body every single day. I don't mean just a stroll to the mailbox or standing in the kitchen. I mean real movement. I should have signed up for a senior yoga class or taken daily walks with a neighbor or even danced in the living room. Anything. Because what I didn't know then is that your body starts slipping away from you the moment you stop using it. I was strong when I retired, not a young man anymore, but capable. That first year of stillness cost me more than I ever imagined. Once strength fades, it takes twice as long to come back, and sometimes it doesn't. I should have treated movement like medicine, because that's exactly what it is. I also would have kept working, not full-time, not because I had to, but because I wanted to stay sharp, stay useful. Retirement shouldn't mean retreat. It should mean reinvention. I had skills, experience, wisdom, and I let them gather dust. Maybe I could have mentored younger folks in my field. Maybe I could have started a small consulting gig or taught at a community college. Anything that would have kept my mind sharp and my spirit engaged. We don't realize how much our work anchors us until it's gone. The routine, the problem solving, the conversations. I let all that vanish too quickly. I should have eased out, not jumped. And finally, if I could go back, I would have talked more about what I was feeling. With my wife, with my friends, with someone. I kept it all bottled up because I thought it was silly. I mean, how can a man who's retired and financially secure and relatively healthy complain? What right did I have to feel sad? But regret doesn't care how fortunate you are. It creeps in through the cracks. I should have said it out loud, that I missed the action, that I felt invisible, that I didn't know who I was anymore. If I'd spoken those words, maybe someone would have nodded and said, "Me too." And maybe I would have felt less alone. Vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And it opens doors to healing you didn't even know existed. So if you're standing on the edge of retirement or already walking that path, let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart. That first year matters. Don't drift through it. Don't numb it with leisure and call it freedom. Be awake for it. Be bold in it. Set goals. Ask hard questions. Move your body. Feed your soul. Keep working in some form. Stay connected. And for God's sake, don't be afraid to feel everything that comes up. It means you're alive. It means you still care. And that's a beautiful thing. I can't go back. But you can go forward. And that's the real gift. Use that first year not to disappear, but to rediscover. Not to stop living, but to start living in a deeper, fuller way. That's what I would do differently. And maybe if you do it right, you won't have to look back with the same regrets I carry now. What can people approaching retirement do to stay relevant, connected, and purposeful as they age? If there's one question that hits me straight in the chest, it's this one. What can people approaching retirement do to stay relevant, connected, and purposeful as they age? I've spent the last 20 years thinking about it, mostly because I didn't do it right myself. I got it wrong at first, real wrong, and I don't want you to repeat that. I want to tell you something true, something you won't find in a brochure or a retirement seminar. Aging doesn't steal your value. Disconnection does. Irrelevance doesn't happen because you get older. It happens when you stop showing up. And purpose doesn't disappear with your job title. It disappears when you stop looking for ways to serve. I learned this the hard way, but I hope you won't have to. Let me take you back to the day after my retirement party. Balloons, cake, laughter, all the things. I walked out of that office feeling proud, relieved, even a little giddy. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, coffee in hand, and waited for the joy to continue. But something felt quiet, and not the good kind, the kind that creeps into your bones. I didn't know it then, but that was the start of a slow drift. I had stepped out of the current, and without realizing it, I began to float further away from the world I once felt part of. If I could talk to anyone approaching that same moment in their life, I'd say this. Start thinking about how you're going to stay in the current. The world doesn't need you to sit back. It needs you to stay in motion. Stay involved. Stay curious. Because when you do, you stay relevant. And relevance isn't about trends or technology. It's about presence. It's about showing up. You want to stay relevant? Then keep learning. Learn something new every year. Every month if you can. Take a class. Watch a documentary and talk about it. Pick up a new tool or hobby. The brain doesn't have an expiration date. It's only the will that rusts. I'll tell you something that may surprise you. Some of the smartest people I know in their 80s and 90s are still teaching. Not in classrooms necessarily, but in life. They mentor, they coach, they guide, because they know that wisdom is only wasted if it's not shared. So if you've spent decades building knowledge, don't let it sit in a drawer. Use it. Offer it. The younger generation is desperate for guidance, even if they don't always say it out loud. You want to stay purposeful? Pour your life into someone else. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a young neighbor, a struggling student, a new employee in the field you just left. When you share your story, you don't just teach others. You remind yourself that your life still counts. Connection is trickier, I'll admit. As you age, people move. People pass. Your social circle starts to shrink if you don't actively keep it growing. I learned that sitting on your porch won't bring people to your door. You've got to go out and meet them. So join things. Join anything. A gardening club, a book club, a walking group, a cooking class. I don't care what it is, just get around people. Talk, listen, laugh, be seen. We are not meant to disappear into ourselves. And the older you get, the more important it is to be part of something. It doesn't have to be big, just regular, consistent, familiar. There was a time, a few years after I retired, when I realized I hadn't made a new friend in 5 years. That thought hit me like a ton of bricks. I was still here, still breathing, still alive, but I wasn't connecting. That's when I decided to volunteer at a local food bank. I started small, just a couple of hours a week. Before I knew it, I had a new group of people in my life. People who looked forward to seeing me. People I could laugh with. People who reminded me that I still had value. That place didn't just feed others, it fed me. Another thing I'd say to anyone approaching retirement is this. Keep moving, not just your body, though that's important too. I'm talking about moving toward goals, projects, missions. When you retire, your goals don't have to end. They just change shape. Maybe you want to build a garden. Maybe you want to write your story down for your grandchildren. Maybe you want to organize community events. Whatever it is, set a goal and chase it. Having something to wake up for, something to measure, something to finish, keeps your fire burning. And I promise you, the fire doesn't have to go out. Not unless you let it. And yes, move your body too. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Motion is life. When I stopped moving, I started aging faster. Walking, swimming, stretching. I don't care how gentle it is, do it. Every day if you can. Because your body is the house your purpose lives in. Take care of it. Let me tell you the truth. Aging isn't the enemy. Retreating is. Hiding is. Withdrawing is. Don't let the world convince you that you've had your time. If you're breathing, you've still got work to do. Joy to feel. People to love. Mistakes to make. Lessons to teach. Don't let a number define your life. I'm 82, and I still have plans. I still have stories to tell, and I still have something to give. So do you. If you're approaching retirement, prepare for it like you would any big adventure. Don't just save money, save your dreams. Don't just plan your finances, plan your friendships. Don't just think about how you'll rest, think about how you'll contribute. Ask yourself often, who needs me now? Where can I help? What makes me feel alive? The truth is, the best parts of your life might still be ahead of you, not because they'll be perfect, but because they'll be intentional, real, full of the kind of meaning that only comes when you've lived long enough to know what matters. So stay relevant, stay connected, stay purposeful, not because you're trying to hang on, but because you've still got something to build. And trust me, the world still needs what you have. Despite your regret, what lessons have you gained from this experience that others must hear before they retire? Despite all the regret I carry on my back like an old worn-out coat, there are lessons I've gathered that I wouldn't trade for anything. They didn't come easily. They came from nights lying awake, wondering what I'd missed, from afternoons staring out the window, feeling like I'd stepped off a train that just kept going without me, from sitting in rooms full of people and still feeling invisible. But through all that, I found clarity, hard-earned truth, And if there's one thing I've learned in these 82 years, it's that pain, when looked at with open eyes, can become your greatest teacher. So let me share with you the things I wish someone had told me before I retired. Maybe they'll save you from the same quiet heartache. The first lesson I learned is this: do not confuse rest with purpose. I spent 45 years working hard. I earned my retirement, no question about it. But I made the mistake of believing that retirement meant stepping away from all responsibility. I thought I'd find peace in doing nothing, and for a short while I did. The naps felt good. The lack of urgency was a relief. But soon that peace turned into restlessness, then into sadness, then into a strange kind of emptiness I couldn't quite explain. You see, the soul needs purpose, like the lungs need air. I should have planned for purpose just like I planned for income. I should have thought deeply about how I would serve, contribute, and grow. Because meaning doesn't retire. It needs to be carried with you every day, no matter your age. Another lesson that hit me like a cold wind was how important identity is. For decades, I introduced myself with my job title. It became my armor, my definition, my pride. Then one day, just like that, it was gone. And what was left? I didn't know. I hadn't nurtured the other parts of myself. The creative part, the playful part, the curious part. I'd buried them under deadlines and meetings and responsibilities. When work stopped, I didn't know who I was. That was a terrifying feeling. If I could go back, I would have started developing those other sides of myself while I was still working. Hobbies, passions, relationships. I would have asked myself not just what I do, but who I am. And I would have built a life around that answer. I also learned that time, when it's unstructured, can be both a gift and a trap. Retirement hands you the gift of time, but if you're not intentional, it will slip right through your fingers. I had no plan for my days, no rhythm, no goals, and so my hours began to blur. The days bled into each other, and I lost track of time, not because I was having fun, but because I had stopped living with direction. I learned the hard way that even in retirement, you need structure. Not rigid, not stressful, but something to shape the day. Something that tells you, this day matters, you matter, and you are still building something. Then there's the lesson of relationships. Retirement can be lonely if you let it. You think you'll be around more. You think you'll catch up with friends, spend time with family, but unless you make the effort, unless you reach out, the silence can grow. I regret not prioritizing connection. I regret not scheduling weekly lunches or joining a community group earlier. I regret not calling my old coworkers just to check in. The world doesn't slow down when you retire. It keeps moving. And if you're not careful, you'll feel like you've been left behind. I learned that connection doesn't just happen. It must be built, maintained, protected. Another lesson, maybe the most humbling of all, is that regret doesn't mean you failed. It just means you were brave enough to care, brave enough to dream, and human enough to get it wrong. I carried my regret like a shameful secret. I thought it meant I had wasted something, but now I see it differently. Regret became the doorway to wisdom. It taught me how to speak honestly, how to look someone in the eye and say, don't make the same mistake I did. And there's something powerful in that, something freeing. Regret is not the end. It's a warning sign that points someone else toward a better road. I also learned that your body is not separate from your spirit. I stopped moving in those early years of retirement. I thought I had earned the right to sit still, but my body began to stiffen. My energy faded, and with that came a kind of fog. I realize now that motion is life. I should have treated my health as a sacred duty, a daily practice. I should have walked more, stretched, danced, played. Because once you lose your strength, your independence follows. And independence is a key to dignity, to confidence. I learned that caring for your body is not vanity, it's survival. Lastly, I learned that the most important thing you can do before you retire is to ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live when I no longer have to work? Not just how much money you'll need, but what kind of mornings you want, what kind of people you want around your table, what you want to be remembered for. Retirement isn't the end, it's a new chapter. But too many of us start that chapter with no plot, no character, no conflict, no vision. If you write it with intention, with heart, with courage, it can be one of the richest chapters yet. So despite my regret, I've gained a kind of peace I didn't expect. Not because everything turned out perfect, but because I finally understand the story of my life, and I want to help others tell theirs with more joy, more clarity, more strength. If you're heading toward retirement, do it with your eyes open. Do it with your heart open, and know that your life doesn't stop when your job ends. In many ways, it finally begins. Just make sure it begins with meaning, and make sure you stay awake for it. That's the truth I've come to. That's the lesson I've earned. And if even one person hears it, then all this regret was not wasted. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel. So until next time, take care.